We chose to work with Hussein Chalayan because he really ultimately is one of the main fashion designers in the UK over the last decade. Hussein, right from the beginning of his career, when I actually started working with him in the early 1990s, has always been interested in exhibiting his work in a way where you single out moments that you might see as parts of a catwalk presentation, but in a form, in an exhibition where you can take more time to digest the work and think about the ideas behind them. I met Hussein a couple of months after he graduated from St Martin's, and I was very interested in the whole way he thought at the time. And at that time it was really the beginning of his career and Alexander McQueen's career. And I met both of them, and I guess Hussein, for me, exemplified a very particular kind of thinking that I thought was just very rare and unusual in a fashion designer.
Hussein Chalayan is such a master of fashion special effects that you come to each of his shows humming with anticipation.
His work crosses across so many different disciplines, so not just fashion. He likes to collaborate with a whole range of different people, scientists, engineers, biologists.
Because he's kind of got this reputation as fashion's mad, boffin, it sometimes obscures the fact that he does actually make women look very, very pretty. I think it's amazing the way he manages to humanize those technological tricks of his.
Basically decided between me and the curator that we wouldn't do one project on its own, but we would combine two different projects.
Hussein was very interested in showing the process aspect of his work, which again quite often gets missed. So we took an older film of his, Anesthetics, from 2004, and we decided to extract some elements which were the tearaway dresses and really concentrate on those and make them into the objects in their own right.
It was based on 11 chapters, and it was all about institutions and violence behind institutions. And we remade the props from that film as display cabinets. So you'll see the film and you'll see the props that come from it. And then there's another project which has come from a collection of mine called Inertia, which are dresses frozen in movement.
Dresses which exemplified a crash scene, to put those into actual forms. And when the dresses that were on the catwalk were shown, they were part of a whole process of mould making.
We're showing the actual moulds retouched, and we're showing their negatives as well with them. So that was actually from a collection, and these are in a way the origins from which those dresses would have come from. So it seemed like a nice idea to show the pieces in their pure format. So it's these two projects together. They're from different eras, and we like that sort of eclectic way of showing things.
Holistically, for the whole show, we felt that those two bodies of work sat very nicely together because the overarching theme was one of process.
I think the really interesting thing here about this show is that a lot of people who would have followed my work, I've been doing this for 15 years, and a lot of people who've been following me would have a different, would look at it differently than somebody who's seen it for the first time, because a lot of the ideas are really connected. So even the film Anesthetics is really connected to the way I would have done my shows in the late 90s and early noughties. So anyone that would have seen my shows with the ritual and the furniture change and all that would see why I would do a film like this. But anyone seeing it for the first time might think, well, might be weirded out because they're not familiar with my work and how I evolved, throughout time. So I think it's not really for me to say how people should read into it, except that, you know, I guess I'm somebody that's excited about certain things, and I produce these, you know, these things because I'm excited, and you share that with people, and they can like it or hate it. But as long as there's a response of some kind, even if it's dislike, I think that means something. The way I construct a collection is I work with the same principles, and a collection can become a film, or it can become an installation, and it becomes also the collection. I don't really separate the way I work. They're all the same, they all come from the same source. It's just that, you know, I can apply that principle to a garment, or I can apply it to a film or to an object. So my world is really all one. It's just the execution of the ideas that can vary. I think having an idea takes a second, or it's accumulative, you know, one thing leads to another. I think the actual doing is the most enjoyable. You know, whether when you're filming and when you're editing, or when you're actually building a sculpture, whichever way you decide to do it. I think the process of producing is the most interesting part for me. And of course, the ideas are always there. You know, I write all the time, I collect things all the time, and, you know, in a way I think what makes ideas valuable is how you produce them, because anyone could have an idea. It's how you do it. And I think it's that kind of, it's the way in which something is going to be done that excites me more than only the idea itself. Because an idea, in effect, can exist as a piece of writing, or it could be, you know, in words, spoken. So I think it's how I find solutions, and that's the most enjoyable part, how you solve a problem, or you know, how you think it's going to be best conveyed.